I still remember the way her face froze when I handed the perfume to her mother. My daughter-in-law, Jessica, had wrapped it in a fancy silver box with a pink ribbon, smiling sweetly as she gave it to me. "Happy birthday, Mom," she said, calling me Mom like she always did. But when I looked her in the eye, I knew, I knew, that perfume wasn't just a gift. It was a weapon. So, in front of everyone, I smiled, lifted the perfume, and said, "Oh, Jessica, thank you. But I think this would be perfect for your mother instead." And I walked across the room and placed it right into her mother's hands. The silence that followed was so sharp, I could hear my own heartbeat. Jessica's face turned pale. Her mother's hands shook as she took the box. My son's eyes darted between us, confused, like he was watching a bomb about to explode. And then, something happened that no one in that room will ever forget. But before I tell you what happened next, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming. Because this story will take you through betrayal, revenge, and secrets darker than you can imagine. Now let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Margaret, but most people call me Maggie. I'm 61 years old, a retired teacher, and a widow. My husband, Richard, died 7 years ago in a car accident that almost tore our family apart. I raised one son, Daniel. He's 32 now, and 3 years ago, he married Jessica. To the world, Jessica is the picture-perfect daughter-in-law. She's beautiful, polite, and always eager to show kindness, especially when other people are watching. But to me, there's something about her that never sat right. Maybe it's the way her smile never reached her eyes. Maybe it's the way Daniel started drifting for me after he married her. He used to call me every day, visit every weekend. Now, months could pass without a call. When I asked, he always said, "Mom, you know Jess keeps me busy." At first, I told myself it was normal. A man builds a new family and priorities shift. But deep down, I knew this wasn't natural. Jessica wanted him all to herself. And slowly, she started making me feel like a stranger in my own son's life. It started with little things. Invitations to dinners that accidentally got lost. Family photos where I was cropped out. Even Christmas gifts. One year, Daniel gave me a cookbook. A cookbook. I don't even cook anymore since Richard died. When I asked why, Jessica laughed and said, "We just thought it would give you something to do." Something to do. But nothing compared to what I found out last year. Daniel had been admitted to the hospital. Heart palpitations. And no one told me. Not a single word. I found out by accident when a neighbor mentioned it. I rushed to the hospital, only to find Jessica sitting by his bed, glaring at me as if I had no right to be there. Daniel was weak, his voice barely above a whisper, but he tried to reassure me. "I'm okay, Mom," he said. But I saw the look in Jessica's eyes. She didn't want me there. That was the day I made up my mind. If she wanted a war, she'd get one. Fast forward to my birthday this year. They threw me a small party at Daniel's house. I wasn't expecting much, just cake, some food, maybe a card. But then Jessica handed me that perfume box. Everyone watched as I opened it. The perfume was expensive, elegant, the kind you don't just buy on a whim. But here's the thing, perfume was the very scent my husband used to buy me every year for my birthday. And no one, absolutely no one, knew that but me. I hadn't smelled that fragrance since the day Richard died. My heart sank. How could Jessica know? Unless she was trying to mock me. I remembered her words last Christmas when she told me I should let go of the past and stop living like a widow. The way she smirked when she said it, and that's when it clicked. This wasn't a gift. It was an insult, a cruel reminder, a message hidden in a shiny box. So I did what no one expected. I took that box, walked past Jessica, and gave it straight to her mother, who was sitting quietly in the corner. The air in the room grew heavy. Jessica's eyes widened, her lips trembled, and for the first time, I saw fear in her face. Her mother opened the box with shaking hands, and the moment she did, the glass bottle slipped from her fingers. It hit the floor, shattered, and the smell filled the entire room. And inside that shattered bottle, something shocking fell out, something no one in that room expected. The moment the perfume bottle shattered, everyone gasped. The sweet, heavy scent filled the air, almost choking us, but that wasn't what stole the breath from our lungs. From inside the broken glass, a tiny folded piece of paper slid out, damp with perfume but still intact. A note. Jessica's mother froze, staring at it as though it were poison. Daniel bent quickly to pick it up, his hands trembling, but before he could open it, I snatched it from his fingers. Something in my gut told me that note wasn't meant to be read by him. It was meant for me. I unfolded the perfume-soaked paper, and what I saw nearly made my knees give way. Scrawled in careful handwriting were the words, "Maggie, this is what happens when you don't know your place." The room went dead silent. Everyone stared at me, then at Jessica, who was gripping the edge of the table so hard her knuckles turned white. Her face was pale, her lips trembling, but her eyes flashed with something darker than guilt. It was almost satisfaction. Daniel finally broke the silence. "Jess, what is this? Did you put this in there?" Jessica shook her head quickly, forcing a nervous laugh.
No.
"No, I don't know where that came from. Maybe it was a prank? Maybe the store." But her voice cracked. Her lie was too weak. Jessica's mother was shaking now, holding her chest. "Jessica," she whispered, "what have you done?" I folded the note again and held it tight in my hand. My anger burned, so hot it felt like it would tear through my skin. But even stronger than anger was fear. If Jessica could go this far, sending me a message of war hidden in a perfume bottle, what else was she capable of? The party ended in chaos. Guests left quickly, whispering among themselves. Daniel kept demanding answers from Jessica, who dodged every question with fake tears and trembling lips. I drove home that night with the note still in my hand, and I knew something deep inside. This was no longer just about a daughter-in-law who didn't like her mother-in-law. This was about revenge.
But why?
What had I done to her to deserve this kind of hatred? I couldn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, remembering every moment since Jessica entered our lives. The whispers, the secrets,
The way Daniel had changed.
the way she always wanted to control everything. And now this. 2 days later, the first blow landed. I woke up to loud banging on my door. It was the police. My heart nearly stopped when they told me why they were there. Someone had filed a complaint against me, for harassment and threats. And the person who filed it? Jessica. I was stunned. They said she had proof. Messages I had supposedly sent her phone, threatening her and warning her to stay away from Daniel. They showed me screenshots. My name, my number. Words I had never written. "Ma'am, you'll need to come with us for questioning," the officer said. My neighbors watched as they led me to the police car. Shame burned in my chest. Daniel rushed to the station, torn between me and his wife, but Jessica was already there, crying dramatically, playing the victim. "Mom, what did you do?" he whispered when he saw the evidence. "I didn't do this," I cried. "Daniel, you know me. I would never threaten her. This is her game. She's framing me." But doubt clouded his eyes. My own son, my only son, didn't know who to believe. I spent the night in a holding cell. Cold, hard, terrifying. I had never been in trouble with the law in my life. The other women in the cell looked at me like fresh prey. My hands shook, my body ached, but worst of all was the betrayal. Jessica was destroying me, piece by piece, and Daniel was letting her. The next morning, I was released on bail. The charges were still hanging over me, but I was free for now. When I walked out of that cell, I swore to myself that Jessica had crossed the wrong woman. I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to fight back. But when I got home, another shock was waiting for me. My front door was open. Inside, drawers were pulled out, furniture overturned, and on the living room wall, written in red lipstick were the words, "This is just the beginning." My hands went cold. My knees buckled. I grabbed the edge of the couch to steady myself. Jessica wasn't just trying to turn Daniel against me. She wanted me destroyed, body, soul, reputation. And in that moment, standing in my ransacked home, I made a vow. If she wanted war, I'd give her war. But what I didn't know then was that the next move Jessica made would not only put me in danger, it would put Daniel's life on the line. I stood frozen in my own living room, the words smeared across my wall burning into my mind. This is just the beginning. My chest tightened, and for the first time, I felt real fear, not just anger or frustration, but fear for my life. I picked up the phone and dialed Daniel, my hands shaking so hard the phone nearly slipped. He answered, his voice tired and sharp. "Mom, what is it now?" "Daniel," I whispered. "My house has been broken into. There's a message on my wall. Jessica." He cut me off before I could finish. "Don't start with Jess again. You've been blaming her for everything. Maybe it was just some random break-in." "Random?" I snapped, my voice rising with desperation. "Do you think a thief breaks into a house, writes a message about beginning something, and leaves without stealing a single thing? Daniel, open your eyes." But he didn't believe me. I could hear it in his silence. By the time the police arrived, Jessica was already there, standing outside my home, clutching Daniel's arm, acting concerned, her big brown eyes brimming with fake tears. "Oh, Mom," she said softly, as though I were fragile. "Who would do this to you?" Her performance was flawless. Even the officer seemed to nod sympathetically at her. But when our eyes met, just for a second, her lips curled into the tiniest smile. A smile only meant for me. That night, I barely slept. My mind spun with questions. What did Jessica want from me? Why destroy me? What was her endgame? But before I could find answers, the nightmare grew worse. 3 nights later, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. It was nearly 2 a.m. My heart dropped when I saw Daniel's name flashing. "Mom," his voice cracked through the line. It's bad. Jessica's in the hospital. She said you poisoned her." I bolted upright. "What?" "She's been throwing up all night. The doctors are running tests. She told them she thinks you slipped something into her food when she visited you last week." His voice broke. "Mom, did you?" My head spun. Poison? My own son was asking me if I tried to kill his wife. "No," I cried. "Daniel, I would never hurt her. Don't you see what she's doing? She's setting me up. She's playing you." But Daniel was too broken to argue. He just whispered, "I don't know what to believe anymore," before hanging up. The next morning, everything exploded. Police cars showed up at my door again. This time, they weren't here for questioning. They had a warrant. I was arrested for attempted murder. Handcuffs on my wrists, neighbors watching again. My reputation shattered. I was dragged to jail like a criminal. My name was smeared across local news by noon. Mother-in-law accused of poisoning daughter-in-law. In that cold, damp cell, with the stench of sweat and despair choking me, I asked myself one question over and over. How far will she go? But even in that darkness, one thing became clear. Jessica wasn't just trying to destroy me. She wanted me erased from Daniel's life completely. If she succeeded, my son would be hers forever. Days passed before my bail hearing. Daniel came to see me once. He looked older, tired, his shoulders heavy with shame. "Mom," he said softly, not meeting my eyes. The tests came back. There wasn't any poison, just bad food. Jess admitted she might have eaten something spoiled at work. The charges might not stick. But why did you have to push her like this? Why can't you just accept her? I wanted to scream, to shake him until he saw the truth. But instead, tears spilled down my cheeks. Because she's dangerous, Daniel. She's not who you think she is. He shook his head. I don't know anymore. Then he left me there. But while I sat in that cell, something shifted. Another inmate, a woman with sharp eyes and a scar across her cheek, leaned toward me one night. "I've seen this before," she whispered. "Pretty girl marries into a family, makes the husband think his mother's crazy, slowly cuts her out. But if you're smart, you'll dig. People like that always have secrets. And secrets get them killed." Her words echoed in my head long after the lights went out. Secrets. Jessica must have them. And if I could find them, maybe I could prove to Daniel what she really was. I was released the next day. The case temporarily dropped due to lack of evidence. I walked out of that station with one mission: uncover Jessica's secret. So, I started digging. I called an old friend who worked in real estate. I asked about Jessica's past addresses, her records, anything public. At first, nothing unusual came up. But then we found something. Something chilling. Before she met Daniel, Jessica had been married before. Briefly. A man named Thomas from another state. And here's the shocking part: Thomas was dead. According to public records, he died suddenly, no foul play determined, but whispers of suspicious circumstances followed the case. My heart pounded. My blood ran cold. Jessica had a dead husband. And now she had my son. As I sat at my kitchen table, the papers spread in front of me. I knew this wasn't just a family feud anymore. This was survival. Because if Jessica killed once, what's to stop her from killing again? And the next target could be Daniel. The papers trembled in my hands as I stared at the name. Thomas Campbell. Deceased. Married to Jessica Campbell, now Jessica Miller. My daughter-in-law wasn't just Daniel's wife.
She was a widow.
And her first husband's sudden death had been swept neatly under the rug. I couldn't breathe. The room seemed to spin as the truth settled in. This wasn't just about jealousy or dislike. Jessica had a history. A dark one. I picked up my phone and called Daniel immediately. Daniel, I whispered, listen to me carefully. Jessica was married before. Her husband is dead. Does she ever talk about him? There was silence on the other end. Then his voice, heavy with doubt. Mom, where are you getting this from? It's public record. I can show you. Don't you see? This isn't a coincidence. You're in danger, Daniel. If she killed once, she could kill again. Stop it, he snapped, his voice breaking. Just stop. You're obsessed. You're tearing us apart. Jess told me you'd dig up dirt on her. I didn't want to believe her. But now I see she was right. My heart broke. My own son thought I was obsessed, delusional. Before I could respond, the line went dead. The next day, I drove to Thomas Campbell's old hometown. I needed answers for myself. The town was small, quiet, the kind where gossip never really dies. I found my way to the local diner, ordered coffee, and casually asked the waitress if she remembered him. She froze, glanced around, then leaned closer. You mean Jessica's first husband? She whispered. My heart pounded. Yes. The woman's lips tightened. That man died too young. Dropped dead in his own house. No drugs, no alcohol. Doctors said heart failure. But people here always wondered. Jessica was the only one with him when it happened. She was new in town, and then just like that, he's gone. She left soon after. My stomach turned. Heart failure. The same thing Daniel had been admitted for last year. Was Jessica repeating history? I thanked the woman, left a big tip, and hurried out. But as I walked to my car, a strange chill ran down my spine.
Someone was watching me.
I glanced around. Across the street, a black SUV idled, engine running. Its windows were tinted too dark to see inside. My instinct screamed danger. I climbed into my car, locked the doors, and drove off. But as I checked my rearview mirror, the SUV pulled out too, slowly, deliberately, like a predator stalking prey. My palms sweated as I took random turns, circling blocks, trying to lose them. But every corner I turned, the SUV followed. By the time I reached the outskirts of town, my chest was heaving. Finally, I pulled into a crowded gas station, parked between two trucks, and waited. The SUV cruised past slowly, then disappeared down the road. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Jessica had found out. Somehow, she knew I was digging. When I finally got home, my house was eerily quiet. I double-checked the locks, pulled the curtains, and sat in the dark with the papers spread across the table again. My hands shook as I whispered to myself, she's going to kill him, just like she killed Thomas. I knew I couldn't go to the police yet, not without more proof. The last time, they nearly locked me up. I needed solid evidence.
But how?
As I sat there, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it, and my blood froze. It was a picture. Daniel, asleep in his own bed, completely unaware. The caption beneath it read, "You can't save him, Maggie. He's mine now." The phone slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the floor. My son wasn't just at risk. He was already being hunted, trapped in her web, and I was the only one who could save him. But before I could act, before I could even breathe, a loud crash shattered the silence. Glass breaking. Someone was inside my house. The sound of shattering glass echoed through my house, sharp and violent. My heart leapt into my throat. I froze in the dark, my back pressed against the wall, every muscle trembling. Someone was inside. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a heavy lamp, and clutched it like a weapon. My breathing was ragged, shallow, my ears straining for movement. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, moving across my living room floor. I peeked around the corner and nearly dropped the lamp. It was Jessica. She stood there, framed in the moonlight pouring through the broken window, her hair loose, her lips curled into a wicked smile. She was holding something small and metallic in her hand. A knife. "Jessica," I whispered, my voice cracking. "What are you doing here?" Her smile widened. "You just couldn't leave it alone, could you, Maggie? Always poking, always digging. You should have stayed in your place. You killed Thomas." The words tumbled out of me, trembling but sharp. "And now you want to kill Daniel, just like before." Her eyes flashed, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she took a slow step forward. "Daniel is mine. He listens to me. He trusts me. And soon, you'll be out of the picture for good." I raised the lamp higher, my arms shaking. "You'll never get away with this.
I'll expose you.
Everyone will know what you are." Jessica laughed softly, the sound chilling in the silence. "Who will believe you? Daniel? The police? They already think you're crazy. They already locked you up once. All I have to do is scream, and you'll be back in a cell." Her words cut deeper than the knife she held. She was right. No one believed me, not even my own son. But before she could take another step, headlights suddenly swept across the room. A car pulled up outside. Jessica stiffened. She shoved the knife into her coat pocket and quickly put on her mask of innocence. A second later, the front door opened, and Daniel walked in. "Mom?
Jess?
What's going on here?" His voice was confused, weary. He looked at me, then at Jessica, who ran to him and threw her arms around him. "Oh, thank God you're here," she cried, her voice trembling with fake fear. "Your mom attacked me. She threatened me with a lamp. Look, she still has it." Daniel's eyes snapped to me. His face twisted in shock, anger, and something worse, disappointment. "Mom, what are you doing?" The lamp slipped from my hands and clattered to the floor. "Daniel, listen to me." She broke in. "She has a knife. She's trying to kill me, kill you too. You have to believe me." But Jessica buried her face in his chest, sobbing. "She hates me, Daniel. She's obsessed with ruining us. Please make it stop." My son held her tighter. His eyes, filled with doubt, fell on me. And in that moment I knew I was losing him. But before I could say another word, another crash shook the house. This time it wasn't glass. It was the back door kicked open hard. Police flooded in, guns drawn, shouting commands. "Hands where we can see them." I raised my trembling hands. Jessica screamed, clinging to Daniel. The officers swarmed the room, shouting, searching. And then one of them, the lead detective from my last arrest, held up a bag. Inside it was a small bottle. Poison. He looked at me with cold eyes. "We received an anonymous tip. We searched your backyard. Care to explain this?" I shook my head violently. "That's not mine. She planted it. She's setting me up again. Can't you see?" But the detective wasn't listening. He motioned for the cuffs. "Maggie Miller, you're under arrest for attempted murder." The cold metal bit into my wrists as Jessica watched, her tears drying into the most satisfied smirk I'd ever seen. She had won again. Daniel's face was pale, torn apart, but he didn't stop them. He didn't say a word. He just watched as they dragged me away. But as they pushed me into the back of the squad car, I caught one last glimpse through the window. Jessica wasn't comforting Daniel anymore. She was whispering something in his ear, her smile dark and dangerous. And Daniel's face, his shocked, frozen face, told me one thing. He had finally heard the truth. The ride to the police station was a blur of flashing lights and hounding fear. My wrists burned from the cuffs, but it was nothing compared to the ache in my chest. Jessica had cornered me again, and this time, it felt final. But as the car pulled into the station, everything changed. Daniel was already there, pacing the lobby, his face pale and drawn. When he saw me being let in, he rushed forward. "Wait," he shouted, his voice shaking. "Don't book her yet. I need to talk." The officers exchanged glances, but the detective nodded. "You've got 2 minutes." Daniel turned to me, his eyes full of something I hadn't seen in a long time, doubt in Jessica. His voice was low, urgent. "Mom, after they took you, just slipped.
She said something.
She told me I was lucky my heart condition didn't act up again, like Thomas's did." "How does she even know about Thomas?" "I never told her you were digging." My breath caught. This was it. The crack in her mask. "Daniel," I whispered, clutching his hands, "because she was there. She knows because she killed him. And she's going to kill you too if you don't open your eyes." He pulled back, shaken. The officers moved to take me inside, but Daniel raised a hand.
"Wait.
I want her house searched, top to bottom." The detective hesitated, then finally agreed. Hours later, I was sitting in a holding cell when the door clanged open. The detective stepped in, his face grim. "We searched her house," he said flatly. "And we found a hidden box under the floorboards in the bedroom closet. Rat poison. Old photos of her and Thomas. And a journal." My heart hammered. He set the journal down. In her handwriting, Mrs. Miller. She detailed everything. How she slipped poison into Thomas's drinks. How she planned to isolate your son from you. Even how she intended to frame you if things went wrong. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My knees buckled, and I collapsed into the chair, tears flooding my face. Jessica had damned herself with her own words. The trial that followed was brutal. Jessica sat in court, her beauty shining like a mask, her crocodile tears flowing as she claimed I had framed her. But the evidence was undeniable. Her journal, the poison, even her fingerprints on the knife she carried that night. And then, the final blow. Daniel took the stand. My son, my precious boy, stood before the jury with tears in his eyes. "I believed her," he said, his voice breaking. "I let her turn me against my mother. But now I see who she really is. If Mom hadn't fought back, I'd probably be dead like Thomas." Jessica's mask shattered then. She screamed in court, her voice venomous. "You are mine, Daniel. Yours and your mother's. I was never going to share you." Her outburst sealed her fate. The jury found her guilty of murder and attempted murder. When the gavel fell and she was sentenced to life in prison, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, relief. But it wasn't victory. Not really. I had lost so much. My reputation. My peace. The trust of my son. Yet when Daniel wrapped his arms around me after the verdict, whispering, "I'm sorry, Mom. I see it now. I believe you." I knew the fight had been worth it. Jessica thought she could erase me. But in the end, her own lies destroyed her. And as I walked out of that courthouse, free at last, I made a silent vow. Never again would I let anyone take my family away from me. Not while I still had breath in my body.